Never Stop Learning, week 138. I'm going to show you my first look at scripted picture frames, which is a new feature in Adobe Photoshop CC 14.2. So I'm going to get started by just creating a new document. I'm just using one of the basic presets. And here's a quick little tip. Here's a new feature. If you go to background, just click once on that lock and it turns it into a regular layer for you. Alright, so here on my artboard I have a just basic white laid out here. You can do whatever color you like. And the new feature is found over here under Edit, and right here you'll find Fill. You click on that and you're greeted with this here. If it's your first time visiting it, you actually might see it this way. It'll say foreground color. But in this drop down menu, you'll find your pattern, and once you click on that, it'll extend this menu, and then you have these options down here, scripted patterns. Make sure this is checked, and then in this drop down, it might even be set to brick as default, but because I've been already playing around with the picture frame a bit, I have this one checked here. So just make sure you have this one activated. Click OK, and then you're going to be greeted with another window, this one here. So it's a whole new interface here. It's a little bit different from some of the Photoshop stuff you're used to seeing. But basically, if I come to this drop down, I'll hit default. It actually remembers whichever last frame you set up. So that's pretty cool because if you want to reuse it, it's right there. So by default, this is the one that'll be on here. And the workflow I've been using is you start at the top and work your way down towards the bottom. So right here it says frame. I'll click right here for this drop down. And this is where it gets exciting. This actually blew me away. This doesn't look like Photoshop anymore to me, but it's kind of a fun look. So I have all these basic frames down here that I could use. All the ones that, actually these are very useful. You get some rounded corners and some chamfered corners here. It looks great. And then up here you just have some fun stuff. And I've been playing around with them and it comes out pretty cool. So I haven't tried this one. So I'll click on Curly Dance and you see it update here in my window. At the moment, my vine color is set to black. So all you have to do is click on the thumbnail and then you have this other panel. So I'm using a Mac right now, so my interface is going to look like this, but on a PC it's going to look a little bit different. So since it's black and I want to add some color in here, I'll bring this slider up towards the top, and you see now in this circle I'm starting to have some different hues I could work with. The higher I go, the brighter the hue is. So somewhere around there looks good to me. I haven't tried this color out yet, so I'll click on that, and to accept it on the Mac again, I'm going to hit on this X and it'll update here. So next is margin. I'm just playing around with these, so I just click all the way over here, make an extreme change so I could see what it's actually going to do. And that starts bringing it in towards the center a little bit more. So I'm just going to bring this guy out. I want to just get it to where it's nice and tight. So right there looks fine to me. Next is size. It's set at 20. So I'll bring it over here just to see what the slider does. And it did some really cool effects here. I'm happy with that. I wonder what happens if I bring it all the way over here. It gets really crazy. So I just back off on that a bit. Maybe a little bit more. That looks great. Thickness is set to 5. So I'll bring the slider over to the right. That's way too thick. That looks bad. So I'll just keep backing off on it until I like it. And this is a workflow I've been using on here. And I've been coming out with some pretty good results. So, and if you have a stylus with you, it's kind of fun just sliding these guys around, but right now I'm just using my trackpad. So let me click on angle. Alright, that made a dramatic change. I'll click on angle again, see what that does, and it seems like it turned it all the way inside out. So let me bring it over here. Now I'm just kind of trying to make decisions on what looks interesting to me at the moment. That looks pretty crazy, so it's between these two. I like this, so I'll keep that because I like how it spins out over here. Next we have arrangement. I'm not really sure what that means, so I'm just going to make a dramatic change again and see what happens. It's giving me some really great effects and I'm just playing around with this. Yeah, I'm going to come all the way to the extreme because I really liked how it curved up over here in the edges. So now invert. When I click on this, it's going to make some changes to these areas here. I'll click on here and it seemed to fill everything up, and it did something interesting here in the corner, but I think I still like this a little bit more. Alright, so next we'll come down here to flower, and I have this drop down menu here. So it's set to small circle, but you have all these different options. It looks like you have 22 different ones you could choose from. So I take a look at my frame here and start trying to get ideas of what is actually going to work with this. I try this star cloud out, see what happens. Now I'm not too happy with that. Maybe this grass circle. That looks pretty good. And it's actually set to black now. So I want to click on the thumbnail. I'll bring my slider back up. Somewhere around here looks good. And maybe I'll go with the yellowish tone just to see what happens. When I click X, you see it updates here. It doesn't look that great, but I'll just keep moving along. Let's see. See if I could fix it up a bit later. Actually, the bigger it gets, the more I'm starting to like these. Let's go all the way to the max. That looks pretty good. Now I got to the bottom of the list. You see this area is grayed out, and that's going to be determined by which frame type you pick. So if you choose a different frame type, you might have access to these different leaves, and I'll show you some of those examples in a little bit. Alright, so now I'm set. I'm happy with how this looks. If I wanted to save this off for a different project later on, I'll just click right here in this drop down, and I could save this off as a preset. And once you have a library going, you come over here to load preset, and you could actually load existing frames that you made, and that's going to speed up a lot of your workflow. Alright, so I want to actually activate this one, so I'll click OK to accept. It takes the process, and it goes ahead and it updates, and I have it set up here. So I did a couple of them before this one, and I'll show you what those guys look like. So I have this one here. This one gave me an opportunity to put in some flowers and different leaves along with the vines. This one also, these are actually different flowers and leaves. So the star is the flower, and then these little spheres here would be the leaves. And then this was actually the first one I tried out, and it also gave me the opportunity to put in some flowers and leaves with these vines. And there you have it. That's my first look at the scripted picture frames, which is a new feature in Adobe Photoshop CC 14.2.